Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today I am so cold. It's really cold. I've also not been very well, so I'm just a bit so sorry in advance for that. I wanted to talk about origin today. That sounds really ominous. I want to talk about origin. But I'm talking about the kind of inbuilt, what seems to be inbuilt, human obsession with origin. Now, I've previously talked in my judgment video about why we kind of judge other people, and it's to do with how we analyse and process the world around us. So I would strongly suggest you go and watch that video if you want some more information on that, because it kind of, I suppose, builds on that a little bit. So there is an inbuilt human, I want to say quest, but I don't want to sound like I'm off like foraging on World of Warcraft or something. But quest for origin. Now, we automatically, as human beings, want to work out where the world is, you know, where did it come from? How did we get here? We want to work all that stuff out. That's kind of an inbuilt part of being human. And there are some people that are more inclined towards those types of thoughts than others. Some people accept life as it is and don't have those kind of origin thoughts, but that usually comes with awareness and growth and different ways of being. I think there is a point in everyone's childhood where they've sat up late at night staring at a ceiling wondering what the hell life was all about, and then not been able to sleep, and then had a sort of like brain melty moment. So I want to talk about where that kind of comes from. I'm only going to talk about recent history. I'm not going to go miles back, but I'm sure that there are examples of this throughout history within human behaviour, with the advancements within science as well. Science is purely a quest. I'm going to use that word quest again, but it is purely a quest to determine origin, why things happen the way that they are, you know, what things are made of, where it comes from. All this kind of stuff is basically a quest for origin. When you get to psychology, you know, why do we behave in that way? Where does that come from? That quest for origin is prevalent throughout the sciences. And I guess in some ways you could even, if you want to be really liberal thinking, you could push it out into other areas as well, because things like art is almost a quest for, where does this feeling that I want to put on this page, where does that come from, and can I put that out there? And comedy shows, origin for why is this funny, and how can I tap into that and make other people laugh? Like, there is this kind of origin quest hidden sometimes in nearly every human pursuit, I would say. And specifically the Edwardian times, this was really prevalent in many academic fields. So this was around the time that Darwin wrote The Origin of the Species, which blew the world open in terms of, oh, we come from apes, look at evolution, and lots of origin, here we are now developed mentality appeared, lots of comparisons appeared. And relating this to psychology and mental health is really interesting, because psychology has evolved as a field of, you know, looking at how we behave, why do we behave in that way, creating experiments and research procedures to kind of analyze where that comes from and why that might be. And ultimately, most of these origin quests involve an element of fixing, which I'm not sure is correctly placed. Now, it's almost this mentality of, if you can find the root cause of something, then you can fix it, which I agree with to a point, you can, but it takes away the notion that things just are, and that things don't necessarily need fixing, and that it is up to an individual if they find something about themselves that they wish to fix. And you could kind of look at human behaviour and the way they are and just say, well, that's how it is. Do we need to find out the origin of that, or can we just accept that that's what it is? And academically, most of the source for origin and this hunt for origin, it just results in more questions. You know, there has never been anything absolutely proven that can't then be questioned later on. There is this thought process as well that things can never be proven, they can just be disproven. So there is constantly a process of, oh, we thought that this was the case, we thought this was why this happened, but then our technology evolved and our thinking changed and we got some different perspectives, and now we don't think that at all, we think that this. So there is kind of an evolution of thought going on as well, whereby the origins that we think we prove prove, we then just disprove later on down the line. So things are constantly growing, things are constantly changing. And that's true for psychology, for mental health as well. Now, there has been a lot of work around the root cause of trauma, for example. You know, you have trauma, you work out the root cause and then you can fix it. And I don't particularly like that analogy because everybody has trauma and it's kind of up to the individual whether or not they want to change how they live their life or not. And there's nothing inherently wrong or bad or broken with how people see the world unless they themselves are wanting to change that. It has to come from the person. You cannot change anything about somebody else. It has to come from within them. I myself have done this where I felt like if I could work out the root cause of a lot of stuff, then I could fix it. I think that that's almost a stage that you go through psychologically with healing. And it's kind of associated with the blame thing. Like, oh, if I can find out why this happened to me, I can blame somebody else or I can fix it. And it doesn't quite work that way, but I do think that's a stage that people go through. They go through that stage to the point where they just go, what it is, and there is this acceptance. But there is a simplicity in, if I find out why I feel this way, or if I find out why I'm behaving this way, or if I find out why that person's doing that, then I can understand it. And then that becomes the issue rather than the whole thing being the issue, if that makes sense. It simplifies things. And the joy of being alive is that things are never simple. They're always complicated. There is only ever, from research, more questions. And that's the beautiful yet frustrating thing about the academic field in any subject. And I'm going to refer back to Friends because I love Friends. I watch Friends. It's just random background noise now, but I've watched it through so many times. I love Friends. And there is an episode in Friends where Phoebe says to Ross that she doesn't believe in evolution. And it's hilarious and everybody laughs. It's really funny. And Ross just can't cope with the fact that she doesn't believe in evolution. And he tries to prove to her in evolution. So he goes and gets fossils and shows her stuff. And Phoebe comes out with possibly one of the best bits of the entire kind of Friends seasons and everything. One of my favourite bits of Friends.
Ross, could you just open your mind like this much? Okay? Now, wasn't there a time when the brightest minds in the world believed that the Earth was flat? And up until, like, what, 50 years ago, you all thought the atom was the smallest thing until you split it open and this, like, whole mess of crap came out. Now, are you telling me that you are so unbelievably arrogant that you can't admit that there's a teeny tiny possibility that you could be wrong about this?
He has no argument. And I think that's something we forget, that we don't know everything. You know, it's not like we have created the circumstances and that if we research hard enough, we will find out what's really going on, what the truth is, why we're here, and all this kind of big thought, philosophical stuff, because there'll always be more questions. Often I see shadow work, as it's called, referred to as this coming to be an acceptance of who you are and being true to who you are and knowing that you have more power than you know. So you can consciously create the person that you want to be. And that almost means it doesn't really matter where you came from. And you can be aware of the influences that you have in your life and the pulls to act in different ways, but you can develop the awareness to choose whether or not to allow those to influence you. So you almost cut off the power of the origin. So one has to question whether you need to really know the origin to change the behaviours that come out of it. Specifically, my field that I'm most interested in is obviously trauma work and very chronic, deep-seated mental health issues and where they may come from. But I don't look at that with a view to working it out. I look at that with a view to accepting that things are often much bigger than they seem. So regardless of whether or not you find the origin of kind of the root cause of your mental ill health, there may possibly be further underlying stuff. Like people are like onions. You can just keep peeling forever. Like there'll just be more and more layers to stuff. And that's kind of the joy of human behavior. The important thing is to get to a place where you feel like you have enough awareness that your choices become conscious ones. You don't act on things that you have no awareness of, and that you can communicate where you are with other people, and you can have a much more supportive environment where you can just be. When you're with a therapist, there is a process of learning. You are unconsciously incompetent. You don't know stuff. So you don't know why you act and why you behave the way that you do, you just do. And then you become aware of it and why, and it gets clunky and messy, and you start to question, am I acting because of this, or am I doing that? Does this align with who I am or not? And trying to work out who the hell you even are. Lots of clunkiness in the middle. And then I would say it moves to a stage of the person that you want to be becomes almost stronger than these past connections and these past things, and you're aware of them, but they're not that much of a priority. You have other coping mechanisms in place. I don't know if this video has made any sense whatsoever, or if I've just been rambling to hell like I normally do, but that's my take on Origin, the search for Origin, and why it basically it's kind of not relevant because it's never possible, but also why we as humans are kind of predisposed to try and find that. If you want to give this a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I hope you're keeping safe and well wherever you are, and I will catch you guys in the next one.